The Ukrainians are facing another aggression just because they dare to exist, because they have chosen to be independent, because they have opted for democracy.
It is coercion, it is bullying by an authoritarian power against a democratic neighbour.
That's why I want to address today the people of Russia. I am addressing you not as a president, I am addressing you as a citizen of Ukraine.
In the name of humanity, do not allow to start in Europe what could be the worst war since the beginning of the century.
Return to your borders. Send your troops and your tanks and your planes back to their barracks and hangars.
Today, I initiated a phone call with the President of the Russian Federation. The result was silence.
The world is calling for peace, but Russia is not listening.
Breaking news at 11, a Russian invasion of Ukraine is underway as troops move in.
I decided to conduct a special military operation. Its goal is the protection of people who, during 8 years, suffer from abuse and genocide from the Kyiv regime.
Right now, there are reports of explosions in several cities.
I think it's relatively safe at the moment. Look, I've got a... Oh.
Hearing a lot of outgoing artillery fire.
Cruise and ballistic missile strikes are underway. People here are terrified.
I am confident that loyal soldiers and officers of Russia's armed forces fulfill their duty professionally and courageously.
There is no purgatory for war criminals. They go straight to hell.
Hands off Ukraine! Putin! Hands off Ukraine! Hands off Ukraine! Hands off Ukraine! Hands off Ukraine!
Josh Manning is a former Russian analyst for the US military and joins us now. Ukraine's only just calling up its military reservists now, Josh. Meanwhile, Russia has around 200,000 troops. What chance has Ukraine got, do you think?
I think Ukraine has a morality and a spirit and an esprit de corps that Russia doesn't have. The Russian troops that they're sending in, right? They send in troops from Siberia, which is a backwater. And so, you know, that's thousands of miles away. They shipped them into the West. And I'm not going to say that they're using it as a road bump, but right, they're just throwing troops at this to try and put as many people at this as possible. Whereas the Ukrainians have a real spirit and they're really fighting for a future that a lot of us aspire that they reach. And so my hope is that they fight hard and that they can overcome what is going to be an onslaught of just brutal proportions, right? This is the Wehrmacht, right? This is going back to Hitler's Germany. This is they're going to come in with power and shock and awe that the world hasn't seen in a long time, and I think Russia wants to showcase that.
So, Josh, I mean, the stakes are extremely high the way that you frame them, and yet, is anyone going to do anything ultimately about this? I mean, Western nations have said that they won't contribute troops. If Russia just says we're going to do this, what is anyone willing, not just able, but willing to do?
I think people need to think larger than that. I think people need to look at, I think Ukraine will emerge okay from this. That's what I'm trying to say. And I think what will happen is that you're talking about the Germans, you're talking about power and you're talking about all sorts of things that are going to happen in Eastern and Western Europe. And there's a grander game to this that is being fought out, and that will be fought out with sanctions, will be fought out with what we call strategic deterrence, right? Sending troops to the Baltics, sending troops to Poland, sending troops to Romania to really keep this nipped in the bud to Ukraine. And as bad as it is for the Ukrainians, and as much as I think the Ukrainians will succeed, it's going to be tough to watch. But I think in the end, I think we emerge in a stronger place. And I think the Putin regime, overconfident and overextended, emerges in a much lesser place from all of this. And I think that's the larger goal that people are trying to hold on to here.
Can you explain how that would work? Because from this distance, it just looks like David versus Goliath.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's a bad example because David won, didn't he? But you know what I mean. I mean, they're outgunned. Ukraine is outgunned. And if they're not going to find on-the-ground military assistance, Why is it that Russia will end up in a situation where they're overextended or where Ukraine somehow triumphs and becomes better at the end of this?
You know, God, it sounds idealistic of me, and I'm not very idealistic, but the unity of the West in all of this, to watch Germany and France, to watch them lead, right? Like, it wasn't like we forced them to cancel Nord Stream 2. Germany did that on its own after a long struggle to not do so. France has come in and said, we tried diplomacy. It didn't work out, guys. You know, we're with you now. A lot of this is Putin being too overconfident and people thinking that he wasn't going to do this. And then he did. And so I think this is going to cancel out a lot of people who had his support. And I think you can build from those cracks and start to really fill them out and erode what, you know, is a horrible authoritarian regime in Moscow that needs to go away. This isn't in the interest of the Russian people.
Josh, we really appreciate you sharing your insights. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much.